See, being singled out feels weird because you have everybody's attention and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. It's the act of finding yourself suddenly separate from everyone else. You don't fit in when you're being singled out. And you should try it. Try it. Here, somebody catch this ball. Here we go. And then just stand up. And then just sit down. See, most people do not want that to happen to them. Like if I was in this audience and the guy just threw the ball, I'd be like, do not throw that ball to me because I hate being singled out. I hate it. And yet somebody just shoved me on the stage and said, hey, Luth, there's like 800 people out there you've never met. You should talk to them. And I was like, okay. And then my critical brain was like, okay, but what if they think your idea is bad? And I was like, well, then I'll face rejection. And then my critical brain was like, why would that ever be worth it? And I'm like, because if a few people like the idea, then I'll get a chance at connection. The only reason the risk would ever be worth it is for connection. And connection means being understood, not just heard, but understood. There's a very vague and slightly embarrassing term that artists and musicians use, making it. Everybody wants to make it. Well, I've worked with hundreds of artists over the last few years, and I always ask everybody, what would making it mean to you? And everybody always says the same thing, connection. You want to change somebody, want to change the world, make impact. And nobody ever says, I want to get famous and make $40 million. But that's what making it means to most people. But most artists don't think that way. Most artists want to change people, and then $40 million and getting famous is like a super great thing that can happen to you if you get good at the important thing, which is connection. But it starts with connection. And to connect, it requires this risk thing right here. And the more I choose to risk, the more harshly you judge me. See, watch this. See, isn't that weird how that changes everything about what you feel about me? Everything is different now. The barrier to connection is risk. You got to travel through risk to get to connection. I can't say to you, I want to show you my idea, but you have to promise to like it. And that's how you make it as an artist, connection. But kids don't care, do they? Like, young kids don't care. They don't fear risk. And we were all once really young kids. So who told us to start fearing risk? Better question is, who's been telling you who you are and who you should be for your whole life? When you were a kid, life was about, if you were lucky, at least a little bit about discovery and exploration and adventure and recess. One of the greatest losses in adulthood is loss of recess. Recess was proof that kids are crazy. Kids are crazy. Recess was a war zone. Recess is what kids do when adults are not involved. This is what they choose. These skipping songs talking about Masu from Alabama sitting on a rocker eating Betty Crocker. That's a song written by children with no help from adults. That's what they do. They don't fear risk until something inevitably happens that makes them start to fear risk, and that's a tragedy. When I was in grade 5, I was the last kid to start wearing jeans. Okay, at the beginning of grade 4, everybody moved to jeans from jogging pants. Sign of maturity. End of grade 5, I'm still rocking jogging pants, and they're not cool anymore. And I'm like, no. I'm not doing jeans. No. Plus, Mom just got me like new gray jogging pants that were super killer because they said kick butt on the thigh. And so I'm at recess, and I'm in the line to go in, and Jason Pierce is also in the line. And Jason Pierce, he looks at my face, and then he looks down at my jogging pants, and then he laughs in my face. And for the first time in my life, I heard this voice in my head that went, what's happening? What's going on? And I answered the voice. I said, Jason Pierce hates my jogging pants. And the voice said, well, you're wearing jogging pants. Everybody else is wearing jeans. Move to jeans. We won't have this issue. What, are you a baby still? Is that what's happening? And I was like, it was the first time I ever experienced this voice in my head that was condescending and terrible to me, like a mean voice in my head. And it was the birth of self-consciousness. It was the awakening of the critic, the incessant, chattering voice in my head that meant to judge me. So I went inside. I told the teacher that I was sick. I faked sick. I called Mom. She took me home for the day. I faked sick because I felt so self-conscious about my jogging pants. And then the true tragedy happened. The next day, I wore jeans to school. I sold out. I'm serious. I chose to fit in. It was gross. I sold out. I gave up my individuality. And as you move through life, more and more people show up to tell you who you are, and then you accidentally believe them like everybody does. Like middle of high school, somebody goes, hey, you know, pretty soon, this is all on you, right? Like pretty soon you're going to have to know what you're doing in this world, what your purpose is. You know, you're going to have to figure out your skills. It's all on you pretty soon. How to make your own grilled cheese sandwiches. You're going to have to buy winter tires at some point. Some horrible thing like that. And this riles the critic up. The critic is going, okay, so what's the skills? What are we doing? What is happening after high school? What's going on? Have the fortnight hours been worth it? What's going on? And there's this very, very heavy loss of innocence. And the critic just gets more and more sort of terrible, and then it stresses you out. And then calculating and measuring and thinking start to take over adventure and exploring and discovering until they do, and you become a dulled adult version of your kid self. Because the critic is in charge now, thinking your way through everything to try to keep you from more pain. And Jason Pierce was the first person, without even knowing it, because Jason was my friend, he didn't mean any harm, he was the first guy to tell me who I am, and then I believed him without even knowing it. Ayo! See, that's very interesting, because if I just loft an Ayo out there, not that many people are going to pick it up, but a lot of you did. A lot of you don't mind being singled out. Most people usually wait to the second or third AO, and they'll be like, am I going to do an AO? Yeah, I'll do an AO. You got to figure out if it's going to be a thing. But most people, first AO? No, not taking part. I don't think so. AO! AO! That's how it works. There was a billy goat over there somewhere. Your punishment for fitting in, and risking nothing is your loss of individuality, your loss of uniqueness, your loss of the stuff that actually makes you special. When you choose to fit in and risk nothing, you become sort of part of the landscape, like nobody's going to decide about you at all. And that's every artist's nightmare. If you don't love me, then at least hate me. Just decide. Pick one. And we are all artists when we choose to share and risk rejection for the chance at connection, the chance at making it, whatever making it means to you. We're all artists when we do that. If you've never been an artist on stage as a musician, you don't know this, but there's a guy, and he's called Front Row Guy. And he's at every show, every music show, and he stands in the front row, arms crossed, dead eyes, and he stares at the performer. And he's at every show on earth. Any show happening now, he's there, and it's the same guy. It's the same guy because the gods of success have put this guy there to test artists, to rile up the critic as a symbol of all of the rejection that you're going to face. So when the artist sees Front Row Guy, the critic comes in and goes, oh, he hates you. Look at this guy. He hates your face and your music and your clothes. This is the most embarrassed for us I've ever been. We should try to win this guy over. And that's the mistake. Because the way you win over Front Row Guy is you have to understand that you cannot control the beliefs and feelings and thoughts of another human being. The way to win over Front Row Guy is to realize that he's just part of an audience and his only job is to judge the art. So the way you beat Front Row Guy is you don't compete with him, you just let him be who he is. But who has been telling you who you are and who you should be for your whole life? Because everybody's got a Jason Pierce and everybody's got a Front Row Guy. People telling you your whole life. Culture, society, people going, that's not a good dream. No, you shouldn't do that. No, that can't work. No, risk nothing. Risk less. Wait the clock out like everybody else. But there's somebody in this audience that doesn't want to go to university and is afraid to tell their parents. And there's somebody who wants to start a business and it feels too risky. And there's somebody who wants to move to Japan or LA. There's somebody who needs to leave a toxic relationship. There's somebody in this audience who wants to tell their friend that they no longer wish to identify as male or female. There's somebody in this audience who is deeply weird and wants to show people how weird they are, but the risk feels too heavy. Well, neither you nor your critic has any control over the thoughts and feelings and beliefs of any of the people or external factors involved on your path to making it, whatever making it is, to you. You can't control any of it. So you have an artist's choice to make. You choose to share, choose to be singled out, choose to risk rejection for the chance at connection. The great irony of being an artist who has identified with the critic and the critic is in charge is that neither life nor art is about thinking, it's about feeling. This is something we knew as kids and then we forgot. So the only way to control is to let go. Let go of the critic, come back to feeling, remember what it feels like to be free, and risk everything for the chance at connection. And that's how you make it as an artist. Hey-oh! Hey-oh! Hey! 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 Thank you.